Guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 19 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Garrett Roll. Is it Roll or Roel? I feel like it's Roll, but let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for your support. You're awesome. And if you guys want to be house guest of the day so I can mess up your name, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Alright, we got some stuff to talk about today, guys. Yesterday they had the Power Veto competition, and it was BB Comics. So everybody was wearing their t-shirts with the fun, like, pow, wham, what? Things on them. And capes. What would your word be if you were wearing a BB Comics shirt? I think I would want mine to say, pew, pew. Alright, so it was the old go on the zip line, go across the comic book setup with everybody's covers, and then you put your comics in the same order. You gotta spot the differences because they have some decoy ones in there. So that's fun. Christmas did not get to compete because it was too much with the zip line and everything. And Paul won the Power Veto. Not surprised, because I feel like it's a huge advantage to have already competed in this competition specifically, because have you guys ever done the spot the difference thing in the back of People magazine? So the first time I did that, I was like, oh my god, I can't find like any of these. And then when I realized what kind of thing they were changing, it became so much easier in the future. So, you know, I feel like he had a huge advantage going into this, but he is now in a very difficult position because he's been telling Alex, like, yeah, I would always save you with the veto if we were ever in that situation. But he's got to keep nominations the same this week and cut Alex loose, or else he's going to be in a world of trouble. Not only with his allies, but just for his own game, because Alex is really the biggest threat that he's got left in the house, who could keep him from making it to the end. But let's be real, Alex would definitely take him to the end. But whatever, you know what I mean. So let's talk about some of the comics here. We don't know all of them yet. I guess we won't find out until Wednesday. But everybody got a comic except for Megan. And let's talk about Paul. He was really pissed about his. So last season, if you guys remember, he was Motor Mouth. So it said on his comic this year, a toxic toilet has turned Motor Mouth into Potty Mouth. Oh! He should have just been like Garbage Toilet or something. I don't know. But he was not happy about that. He's realizing, oh shit, I might be a villain this season. He's like, do I curse all the time? Or is that just because I've been trash talking? Why? And then he was like, my mom's going to be so upset about it. Wow. So Josh's, he was a giant meatball with pots and pans. That's fun. Raven was Arkansasy. Apparently she had really long claws and she was like popping pimples. That's gross. They all said they didn't really understand hers. I think they took it really easy on Raven. But anyway, Elena's was Helena. Cody was Starecrow. That's hilarious. Jess's was Hex Appeal. Cameron's was like Superfan or something, like SF for Superfan. Kevin was a Mermaid King. Christmas was some sort of like murder person on a scooter. Okay, Dominique was fighting reptiles. Nice. Alex beating up wieners. Sounds accurate. Jason, they called him a nutcase, but he got to have Oli the bull in his. That's so cute. So Whistlenut and Oli. And those are the only ones that I know so far. I don't know what the other ones are, but I'm excited to see them with like the artwork and everything. I think it's going to be really fun. Alright, so Paul and Alex were in the storage room, and Alex asks him, are we taking Kevin to the end? And Paul's like, F no. Wait, are we taking Alex to the end? But Paul says, no, I'm going to need to reevaluate here, because she's like, well, who are we going to take to the end? Not you. So Alex is like, did Kevin throw it? Because apparently Kevin did really, really bad. And then she's like, did you ask him to throw it? And Paul's like, I think Kevin 100% threw it, but I did not tell him to. And it's true, he didn't tell him to. He told him to go for it, because that would take a lot of heat off of Paul if Kevin could win this and take himself off the block, and then they wouldn't have to explain to Alex, like, this is why we're not using the veto. So he's saying he's not sure why Kevin did that, but he definitely thinks he threw it. Alright, so then Paul's in the storage room with Christmas, and they're both pissed that Kevin did so poorly in the competition. Again, they wanted him to maybe win this one and take himself off so that Alex wouldn't be like, you guys suck. So Paul lets Christmas know he's planning on keeping nominations the same so that they can get rid of Alex, because that is what needs to be done. But he doesn't know what he's going to say to her, because like I mentioned earlier, he's been saying, like, yeah, I'll use the veto on you if I win. And now he's got to make up his mind here, and he doesn't want to lose that jury vote. So Christmas is like, all right, we'll powwow and figure it out. Don't worry. They're also annoyed because Alex tried so hard in the competition, and they feel like Kevin did not. Okay, so then Paul and Kevin have a quick chat in the money room. And Paul's just like, what the F happened to you? You know, what happened during that competition? And Kevin's like, I couldn't see. I didn't tell them before. Is Kevin colorblind? He said he couldn't see the colors. He's like, oh, poor Kevy. That's so sad. So he says he really did try in the competitions, but he just could not pick up certain things on the comics. So he thanks Paul for having his back this whole time. He says he owes him this much. And then Kevin says, you know what, Paul? I will leave before I let you go. Don't say that. But I mean, he said the same thing to Jason too, and Jason is not there, but Kevin definitely still is. So he's just saying that. But anyway, Kevin is saying he wants to win the next HOH, get rid of Josh, go to the final 3 with Paul and Christmas, and eventually the final 2 with Paul. He says Paul will win. Ugh, stop. He's saying he's fine with that, you know? He's fine with taking second to Paul. Okay, so then a few minutes later, Paul and Christmas were strategizing in the rose bedroom. This is their little powwow. So I just want to note, Christmas is sitting behind Paul on one of the beds, tweezing his back hairs while they were talking. Oh, so gross. So Christmas is like, all right, I want to go through all the options here. This may sound crazy, but hear me out. She's like, what if you keep your promise to Alex and use a veto on her? Then Josh will have to put me up as the replacement nominee because Christmas is the only person left to be put up. And she says, you guys go ahead and vote out Kevin, and then we battle it out with Alex in the final 4. And Paul's like, no, that's way too risky because Alex could win the HOH or the power veto, and then one of us is going to have to go. You know, they're not going to be able to keep their group of 3 together. So Paul is like, no, obviously I have to leave nominations the same. But he's trying to come up with a way of distributing the blame and the heat on all of them. Wow! Remember last week when Josh was saying he didn't want all the heat on him? And Paul was like, it's okay, like next week I'm going to have to take the heat. And Christmas was saying the same thing to Josh to calm him down. But now Paul is like trying to spread that wealth around. So Paul has an idea here. He wants to tell Alex that if he did not win the veto this week, he would have been the one going. Whoever won it would have used it on Alex, or if Kevin won, he would have used it on himself. Paul would have gone up, and they would have voted him out because he's the biggest target. But he's also going to tell her that Josh, Christmas, and Kevin all threatened him that he would lose their jury votes if he used the veto on Alex. Oh my god. So Paul is going to be like, you know, I have to do this because if I use the veto on you, I'm basically forfeiting my game to you. I will have lost so many votes, it'll be impossible for me to win. So Christmas is like, yeah, we'll do whatever you want. It sounds good. Ugh. Alright, so Paul and Christmas present this plan to Josh. And Paul is asking him, are you cool with me saying that I wouldn't have your jury vote if I use the veto? And Josh is like, oh, do whatever you have to do to protect yourself. And then he's like, I don't want to do it though. He does not feel comfortable with that. He just wants to be straight up with Alex, but Paul is not into that. So Paul's like, all right, well, if we don't do that, then I'm going to have to expose our trio to her and tell her that we're all working together. And Paul does not want Alex bringing this information to jury because he wants everybody in the jury to think that he's played this clean game and he's friends with everybody. But little does he know that Josh already exposed the alliance in his goodbye message to Jason. Now, we can't just assume that Jason is actually going to take that information and process it and use it correctly, but hopefully he will. I don't know. So then they talk about next week, and they're saying Kevin cannot win the HOH because then one of them will have to go. So Paul is saying they're going to have to blow up on Kevin before the competition to throw him off. I thought that this, like, bullying, ganging up on people shit was over, but apparently it's not. So they continue their discussion later in the Apple Lounge, the three of them. And Paul's like, we gotta make sure that she knows, Alex knows, that all three of us want her out, so it's not just on one person. But you were so cool with it being on Christmas and Josh last week, right? So Josh is still wishy-washy about the jury vote thing. He's like, I'm not cool with it, but I'll do it if that's what you guys decide you want to do. And then Christmas, she just can't stand this attitude from Josh. So she was being the biggest a-hole ever to Josh last night. She was telling him, like, don't F this up for us, and she's being very condescending to him. It's ridiculous the way she, like, cuts him off and, like, chastises him like he's a little kid. Paul does it too, but Christmas just takes it to another level. So she's still pissed about him throwing that vote to Raven during the double eviction, whereas Paul can, like, get all this heat on them, and it's okay. So then they're talking again about how they're going to blow up on Kevin, and Christmas is, I'm sorry guys, she's a dirty bee. So she wants to attack Kevin where it's going to hurt the most. So she's going to call Kevin like an effing pervert and bring up how he said that he like wanted to bang her in the jury house. And then Christmas says, you haven't seen C Christmas come out yet. When she says that, she means like, see you next Tuesday. She says, I will effing rape his soul with my words. What the actual F is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? That is so disgusting. So then Christmas tells Josh, you just stay out of it, and you okay? And you let me yell at Kevin because I am gonna mess him up. So Josh is like, I just want to hide during this. But then later they're telling Josh, like, you need to get in on this after Christmas starts. So then Josh goes to the storage room alone. And he says, Christmas is such a fool, man. Christmas is such a fool. Word! Okay, so then he goes up to the HOH room to talk to the cameras for a few minutes by himself. And he is pissed that he's had Paul and Christmas's backs all season. And Paul has been manipulating things a ton lately to let them take all the heat so that he'd be cool with all the jury voters. So he's saying, they don't even let me speak, they don't even let me get a word in, and Christmas is just eating up everything that Paul's putting out there. Yup, I'm glad he's finally seeing this. So he's saying, I can't take a shot now because Paul won the veto. Before he was thinking maybe he could go for Paul this week, but now he can't. So he's like, I guess I'm just gonna have to go to the final three with them. You don't have to though. But he's saying he just might blow up this house. I guess he means like by telling everyone about the alliance and Paul's dirty gameplay behind the scenes, but like there's only 2 other people left who aren't in your alliance. So I guess he just means if he puts that info out there, the jury will find out about it and they'll all know that Paul did not play this squeaky clean game. So he's saying they think that I'm stupid, and he is convinced that Paul told Kevin to throw the power veto competition to make it look like Kevin is working with Josh and Christmas, which doesn't totally make sense to me, but sure. And it's funny because Paul did not ask Kevin to throw it. He told him to go for it, but Josh is not happy about it. So then Josh says, Paul is forcing me to take a shot at him and turn on him, just the way he's playing this game right now, because Josh feels like there's no way he can beat Paul in the final 2. I'm glad he's realizing that. And he feels like Paul is trying to taint his game. Yeah. So then he's saying Paul doesn't think that the jury knows about their alliance, but Jason should be spreading that around the jury like wildfire right now. Woo! He should be, but is he? I don't know. So then Josh says, after all this, I'm still going to be loyal to them until the final 3. But if he wins the final HOH, he's going to take out Paul. Good luck beating Paul in the final HOH. That's all I'm saying. So one last thing that Josh mentions, he says, guys, I didn't ruin my game. You can thank my allies for that. Well, while I do think that your allies suck, you let them do that, okay? That's the kind of game you played, where you just blindly followed them, and now you're just suddenly waking up. So, like, don't blame them for that, because you sucked for a really long time. But anyway, Josh goes back to the Apple Lounge with Paul and Christmas, and they're continuing to plan their attack on Kevin. So they're talking about what they're going to be doing and saying to Kevin, and Paul's just like, I'm just going to be in the corner doing push-ups. Like, what? Of course, he's not going to get involved in that. He wants to make sure that Christmas and Josh look like the biggest a-holes so that Kevin will not vote for them if he's in the final two with them. So then Josh is saying he's going to do pots and pans on Kevin. I thought he wasn't allowed to do that anymore. But Paul says that's not enough. You need to attack Kevin's character and his ego. That is disgusting. So then Christmas says, again, she's going to hit him where it hurts. She's going to call him an old man pervert. She's disgusting. Like, oh, I could not listen to her talk last night. It made me want to punch myself in the face. So she says that she wants to go up on the block next to Kevin next week so that his ego will shatter when she stays over him. I would just love to see Kevin win the HOH. Like, that would be amazing. Or if he doesn't, for Kevin to be up next to Christmas and they're like, you know what, we're going to get rid of Christmas. We'll take Kevin because it'll be easier to beat him. That would just be the best. So then Josh visits Kevin in the money bedroom and he asks Kevin, did you throw the veto competition? And Kevin's like, F no, I was up on the block. Of course I was trying to win. But he couldn't see the colors. Again, he mentions like, I'm colorblind. So Josh is just like, So then, I don't know what the hell's wrong with these people and how they can talk such trash about each other and then turn around like they're best friends, because then Josh was hanging out with Kevin in the Apple Lounge, just having a grand old time with him. They're laughing, they're talking about hanging out after the show. It's insane. But anyway, a little while later, Kevin and Paul are playing pool in the backyard, and Kevin says that he really wants to win this next HOH. He's been saying that for the last few days. And the last few days, Paul's been like, oh yeah, buddy, me or you. But now he's saying, I don't know if that's really best for your game. Come on, man. So he's saying, like, I don't know what kind of argument you're going to go for in the end. Like, you've already come so far without winning any competitions. Really? I hope that Kevin is seeing through this. But he says, like, so what? I'm going to be in the top 3 if I throw this HOH? And Paul's like, well, we'll have to win the veto too, because whoever wins the veto is going to decide who's evicted. So please, Kevin, do not throw this. I really hope that Kevin understands the gravity of this and that he should not be throwing this next HOH, but we'll see. So the rest of the night, pretty much the same garbage with Paul, Christmas, and Josh. Them talking about how they're all going to take the heat on this Alex thing, talking down to Josh, and they were also planning to travel the world together, going through their plans for that. Oh, hell no! I would not want to travel with any of those people. I'm sorry. Okay, so then today, it's been a big day, guys. Today is the day Paul told Alex that he will not be using the veto on her. So he pulls her aside in the Apple Lounge, and this was a really long conversation, but I'm just going to give you guys, like, the cliff notes, spark notes. So he says, I don't want to sound like a selfish prick, but if I use the veto on you, I'm basically throwing my game away. So, excuse me, it's all coming out now. He says he will lose 3 jury votes, Josh, Christmas, and Kevin, if he uses the veto. So he's like, maybe we can still convince Christmas and Josh to keep you this week. He's definitely putting that heat on Christmas and Josh. Because he's all like, I want to keep you, but I can't risk losing those jury votes. So then he's trying to butter her up. He's like, you remind me a lot of myself last year. You're like the female version of me in all ways. Ugh, gross. Okay, so then it's finally Alex's turn to talk. She was just sitting there very quietly for a lot of that. So Alex is like, I'm upset because I'm realizing that I put you ahead of Jason. She's like, I should have won the veto last week and saved Jason. She still does not realize she would have gone home if she used the veto at Jason. Oh my god. So she's like, we should have gotten rid of Kevin. We should have gotten rid of Christmas. Like, we shouldn't have kept them around this long. So then she's telling Paul, like, I'm not trying to guilt trip you, but she says if the roles were reversed, she would save Paul. Yeah, because you're dumb. I'm sorry, but Paul actually wants to win this. So then she's saying, you gotta do what's best for your game, dude. And then, this is so ridiculous. She's like, I'm not even, like, upset about not winning, but I'm upset that somebody else is gonna win second place instead of me. So she's upset that somebody else is gonna go to the end and lose to Paul instead of her. She wanted to be the one to lose to Paul. That is so lame. So then Paul keeps saying like, I'm so torn about it. You're one of like the best people I've ever met in my life. Blah, blah, blah. And he's telling her, you'll probably get America's favorite player. Oh, hell no. No. So then this chat goes on for a while, like the same stuff over and over again, until Alex has finally had enough. She's like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's upsetting. So she tells Paul that he still has her jury vote and she's going to work on Jason for him. Ugh. So then after the conversation, Paul is walking around the house crying very loudly. He's like, looking at the mirrors and the cameras. Fake? I think so. So he goes up to the HOH room where Josh and Christmas are hanging out, and he's just freaking bawling, and Christmas wraps him in her arms. And then there's a group hug with Christmas and Josh. Yeah, it was ridiculous. He's just like, I feel so bad, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna pick it up there tomorrow. I feel like Josh is really pissed that Paul has gone ahead with this plan and had this conversation with Alex. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens here, but let me know what you guys think in the comments, and until tomorrow, much love.